Welcome to our Tackle Tax Season webinar presented by New Beginnings with our special guest, Bernie Diamond of SmartPath College Counseling. SmartPath demystifies the college admission process and provides customized guidance for middle and high school students. Stay tuned after Bernie's presentation for Shanika's answers to tough tax questions. Let's join the webinar already in progress.
Many engineering programs and schools, students are expected to take calculus. So the course, the math that you're taking freshman year, is that setting that student up to be able to take calculus by their senior year in order to be competitive for engineering programs. The next most important thing in the college application is extracurriculars, getting involved. And so I believe that students need to identify their passions. When we're passionate about something, no one needs to tell us to do it. We just do it on our own. So students can find their passion. And first and foremost, getting involved at your high school. You have to be involved in your school community. Outside of that, then start to get involved outside of school. What can you take on outside of school? Once you've gotten involved, then taking on leadership positions, running for an office, or maybe you have an idea that you want to start your own club, so starting your own club. As you may or may not know, with the pandemic, many schools are test optional, and test optional simply means that a student doesn't have to submit the SAT or ACT. But with the removal of the SAT or ACT, that means there will be a higher focus on other things. Some of those other things are the extracurricular activities that students are involved in. And so I do stress with students' impact. When I have a student who already is a go-getter, they're already really involved in their high school, then we want to think about, okay, well, how big can I take my impact? What things can I get involved in where I can have an impact regionally, I can have an impact statewide, nationally. And so what I mean by this is there are many competitions, there are many clubs that do this automatically, whether it's a math or robotics competition, whether it's being involved in show choirs, whether it's junior statesmen. But it's so great for students to get involved even outside of their high school and to be able to meet students from all over the state or all over the nation. And sometimes students are able to even get involved internationally, which is always fantastic. A part of what we do is also leadership development. So with leadership development, we do believe in career, interest, and personality assessments because we want to help students identify their strengths and areas for improvement. We also want to guide students in achieving their goals because this builds confidence, and we want our students to be confident. And we also partner with families. So one dynamic that we often see, and this happens more with junior and senior year, but where students, they don't want their parents to be heavily involved in the application, right? Because they are trying to establish their independence. So sometimes we will get, my child's not talking to me, or my child's giving me one-word answers when I ask them how that application is going. Yes, that is very common. It's common to happen. And so we value that we are able to offer parents peace of mind because they know, okay, my child is working with a professional who will help them make sound decisions when it comes to the application. And also just increasing that communication between the parent and the student. The other thing that we do as well is standardized testing. This is another part of the college application. Now, as I mentioned before, the pandemic changed things where more colleges, test optional has always been around, but more colleges went test optional, where they gave students the option of taking the SAT or ACT or submitting that as part of their college application. Many colleges, particularly on the West Coast or for Western states, are test optional or even test blind, where just don't even think about sending in a test score. But that is not the case across the nation. And you really have to know, okay, by state, by region, will these particular colleges that I'm applying to, do they need test scores? So one website that you can go to is fairtest.org. It has a listing of schools that are test optional. And even that can vary. So you want to go to that website and find out what does test optional mean for that particular school. And some of the testing that students can expect are PSAT, SAT, and ACT, and also AP exams. We do believe that students should at least take the SAT or ACT at least once, and then decide if they should continue taking it or not to receive higher scores. And again, it's about fit. So all colleges accept the SAT or ACT, but they are very different exams. And so we have students take a diagnostic to determine which exam is going to be the best fit for you. Which one are you going to do better on? One thing I want you to take away this morning is that it's not too early to start learning about colleges. As I mentioned, there are over 4,000 colleges in the US. They are all very different. And so students finding the right fit, just right here in Arizona, there's Prescott College, where a lot of their classes are not in a traditional classroom setting. They're taking place outdoors. For a particular student, that may be the better way for them to learn. So it's really finding what is out there, what is the difference between a liberal arts college and a pre-professional college, knowing differences. It is important to visit college campuses, but again, from the pandemic, colleges have what they've held on to is virtual college fairs, virtual information sessions, and virtual college tours. So even when you can't get to a campus in person, sign up for a virtual information session. Really get to know what that school offers and what makes their engineering program different from the engineering program at this other school. But it's important to really get to know what's out there and what environment will your student thrive in. So as we said, we believe the college application begins freshman year. And so we work with students starting freshman year of high school. But we also have a lot of seniors that we work with. And so our goal is to guide them in crafting a very compelling college application, time management, meeting deadlines, what it takes, maybe extra things that are needed as they apply to competitive majors or programs. And so we guide students through the entire process. We are having a webinar coming up, Scholarship Secrets presentation with financial aid expert David Levy. David is just like an encyclopedia of knowledge. And that's taking place on Wednesday, November 29th at 6:30 p.m. If you want more information on how to get scholarships, how to be awarded scholarships, we encourage you to join us, and you can email us at info@smartpathcc.com for more information about that. But it's part of our way of making sure that parents and students are educated about all aspects of the college process. And we invite you to stay in touch in general. You can visit smartpathcollegecounseling.com to find out more information, or you can also email us at info@smartpathcc.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bernie. You have really given us a lot of information and a lot of guidance just in the general prospect. So I do want to thank you for that. And I'd like to open the floor to any questions just for a quick second before we move on to Shanika, who will give us some tax guidance as well.
I actually had a question for Bernie myself, as my granddaughter have just went into her little college world, her little college life. But do you all assist with, once they have transitioned into college, do you assist with helping them then? Like once they're already in college?
It's kind of inevitable, but yes, we do. We get become very close with our students and our families. And so, yes, sometimes a student may need extra assistance in college, and we will assist them in any way. And often when students are applying to grad school, they will come back and want assistance with applying to grad school. I even had two former students recently who are in medical school currently and applying for residency programs and came back for assistance. So yes.
Yeah, because she just actually, like I said, she started, what was it? I think last year, but this is her first year. And then she's having to pick her courses for this upcoming semester. So she's like, Pooh, because she calls me Pooh. Pooh, what you do? Like, what do I do? And I'm like, oh, go talk to your counselor, honey. You know, but it's good to know that you are out there. And thank you so much for doing this today.
Thank you, Shanika. Thank you. It's been a pleasure to join you this morning.
Thank you.
All right, and it seems like we have two more questions. So the first one was, are your services only for Arizona?
Great question. And I meant to mention at the beginning that we are based here in Arizona, but we're actually national. We work with students across the nation virtually. So we have a large number of students from California and also from the East Coast as well. So it's pretty broad.
Thank you so much. And then second, do you find that when families and students use your services, do they owe less after receiving their degree? Sorry.
So do they owe less in terms of how much they've paid for college?
Let me see. I believe that is what the question
What
is.
they're asking.
What they're asking, yeah.
Yeah, I would say in many cases, yes. Yes. Because again, it goes back to fit. And what we've found is a lot of families have been surprised that, wow, I never expected to get those merit-based scholarships, so many merit-based scholarships, or I never expected to get this that reduced the total cost of attendance. So we, believe in giving families where they have many options to choose from, and also just resources. So even when perhaps they didn't get a merit-based scholarship directly from the university, we've guided students with finding scholarships, and many students, because it's a very intentional and kind of disciplined process that we take them through with applying for scholarships, have done very well and then getting a lot of outside scholarships.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. Okay, yep, they were talking about the cost. So thank you. You did address the question. So I think that is all we can do for the questions as of right now. But of course, she did give her information if you did want to contact after, if you had any questions. But for now, we will move on to Shanika with her general tax information and to give you guys some tax help while you guys are here.
Oh, I like this. No questions for me. I like it. So instead of keeping dead silence, look, Miss Bernie, I'm going back. So you did answer the question, because I had written down a couple of other questions, but one was, did you assist with financial aid? And you answered that question beautifully. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to this webinar that you all have as well.
From Tristan Roberts. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to allow him to talk and ask his question real quick for you.
Okay.
Oh. All right, Tristan, you should be able to go ahead and ask that question.
Thank you so much for allowing the mute button. I was having a panic attack because I didn't know if you guys could hear me or not hear me. So there was no mute button on the screen. And I was like, do I eat my sandwich? Do I talk? I appreciate, sorry my screen's dark, bad camera. Anyway, I appreciate you taking the time for these questions.
Yes, sir.
I noticed earlier a lot of the questions were for up and coming high school students, or not high school students, up and coming college students coming out of high school.
Yes, sir.
I have already passed that gauntlet. I'm about 25 years of age, and I will be making a fresh start. And so these resources, such as like a high school counselor or anything, it's a bit different for me. And I do have some questions for Shanika. Sorry if I said that
You
wrong.
said it beautifully, actually, Tristan. Thank you.
Thank you. So previously, I had never gotten any scholarships, any loans, any FAFSA experience. I had pretty much just used a credit card like an amateur for my first year and completely ruined it. And then I freeballed it for like the next 7 years. Since I would be on my own income and not my parents' income anymore, is FAFSA taxable? Like any government aid, such as like the Pell Grant or just the traditional FAFSA, do I have to record government income or aid on that tax form?
Gotcha. So the FAFSA itself is just like a form, right? But when things become taxable, they'll actually give you a form. You'll get a 1098-T from your school or whatever it is. You'll get that form, and then that form will actually say whether something is taxable or not. But normally your college tuition is not taxable. So if you get a grant from, just say, what is the grant called, Miss Bernie?
Let's see, Pell Grant.
Pell, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that was the one thank you so much. If you get the Pell Grant, that's definitely, it's a grant. It's not taxable at all. And then when you take your student loans, you can take student loans and they're still not taxable unless they give you forgiveness for it. And sometimes they will offer forgiveness for those the student loan or the student loan payments. So you just have to really be careful too with that, because some of them can be taxable, but then some of them are not taxable.
Really? That's very interesting. I wonder what they're going to do with all those individuals who may or may not get forgiven.
That is correct. That is correct. Because they will issue you what they call a 1099-C, which will say a cancellation of debt. And then they'll issue that. And depending on seriously which tax professional you go to, some tax professionals can use a form for you to get it not to be taxable, and then some don't use it at all. So, but that was
very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you. So when you said that was the grant, would the grants or that umbrella also apply to maybe scholarships or employer assistance? So my civilian employer has a tuition assistance program, and what category would that employer tuition assistance fall under?
Beautiful. It is not taxable as well.
Nice.
It is not. Correct.
Okay. So I guess any form of tuition assistance is not taxable then?
We can't say that, and I don't even want to go that route, because what happens is sometimes your tuition with the scholarships is more than the actual tuition itself. You know how your tuition is the amount, and I'll just for the lack of whatever, I'll say a small amount. It's like $5,000. And then the scholarship that you get is $10,000. So then some of that could be, depending on your income, some of that could be taxable. Not the full amount, but some of it could be.
And would I have to sit down with an accountant to work that out, or would that be run through, would the college automatically sort that out?
You could ask the college. I'm not sure if they'll tell you. Maybe somebody like Bernie, you know what I'm saying, that could sit with you. Maybe she'll be able to tell you, hey, your tuition was a little bit less than your scholarships were, so this might be taxable. And I know I have several clients that run through this. So to run into this problem because of their income. So it's just something that, yeah, I would definitely say get with an accountant when that time comes, especially if your what is it, if your tuition is less than your scholarship money.
Copy that. I don't know, I haven't applied or anything yet, but it would be through a community college. And maybe, if I'm taking 3 classes, what is a community college class? Like $200-$300 a class? Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you should be good. You really should.
Copy that. Thank you, Shanika. I think that's all I
All right.
for
Thank
now.
you.
Okay,
Thank
you're welcome.
you very much, Tristan, for your questions. And of course, you can also contact us with any questions after the fact. So I do want to make sure that we let you know about that. But I also want to open the floor for some other questions. But once again, thank you so much for your questions. They're very they just informed a lot of people, and I believe a lot of people also had similar questions to you.
Yes, no, thank you for answering them and having this webinar.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All righty. So lastly, let's see. This one is actually a scholarship question. So for the program process, does that include competing essays?
Yes. So for many scholarships, a student is asked to write an essay. Not for every scholarship. I mean, there are some where they just fill out information, or maybe they even do a video. That has become more common as well. But a lot of scholarships will ask for essays, and of course, with scholarships, you just want to be careful because some out there are more almost like entering a sweepstakes, where it's just kind of a free for all. So you really want to vet the sources, and so it's a good thing when they ask for a scholarship and have some sort of process where they're vetting and taking the time to read through those applications to find the best candidate.
Perfect. Thank you so much for answering that question as well, because that's also a question I had. So, and then this one would be for Shanika. So, as of lately, I've been seeing a lot of people file exempt on their W-4. And I just wanted to know a little bit more about that, maybe the cons or the pros of maybe why people tend to file exempt. That's a common question that a lot of people are having. Even I've been asked that as well. So I did just want a little insight on that.
This is a great question, actually, Katiana. So when you file exempt, right, you automatically know there's a great possibility that you are going to owe. I normally love to tell my clients, if you look at your check stub and you look at the federal withholdings that's done, that's withheld, and then you look at your total income, you always want it to be at least 10%. And the reason that I say that is because 10% is the lowest tax bracket. And a lot of people are not now, especially nowadays, are not in that 10% tax bracket. So the moment you go exempt, that means that they're withholding no taxes from your pay stub. So again, when I get my clients come in and I'm looking at their W-2s, the first thing I look at is how much was their total gross income. And then I'm looking at that withholding amount. And if it's not 10%, it's automatic. They're going to owe. We just don't know how much. So if everybody just keep that in their, like in the forefront, that, okay, even if I go exempt, do I have enough time to make this up? Because if you don't, you're going to have to pay some money in the end.
Sorry. I had one question. So if I, as a student, am studying under a work-study program, how do I know if that's something I should put on my taxes? And if so, if I should put it on my taxes, how do I know if I should put it on my parents' taxes versus my own taxes?
That's actually a good question too. So if you're still claimed on your parents' tax return, then that's when those items like that would go on the parent's tax return. And for if there's any younger people out here that, of course, is still on their parents' return, don't get out there with your little friends and be like, girl, I'm gonna claim me because I heard this, she got $2,000. Remember, your parents are the one that's claiming you, right? So let's find out from our parents if we are indeed eligible to claim ourselves, first off. And then even your parents might give you some little extra cash so you can go spend, but let's just not go and just file your own tax return so you can get the money. But I guess the gist of your question, Kennedy, which was really a great question, is at the end of the year, you will get a 1098 from your school, right? So even if it's that work program, you're gonna get that 1098, which says this is what your tuition was and this is how much you paid. So what happens is they don't only give that paper to you, they file it with the IRS. So the paper is filed with the IRS, even if you don't claim it yourself. But you being a dependent, it can be claimed on your parents' return.
Okay. Thank you. That was a great question, Kennedy. But since we are a little bit over our time right now, and this webinar will close out on us. So I do just want to thank Bernie one more time for just giving us that information on the college admissions. I know plenty of people will find that just incredibly helpful. And once again, thank you, Shanika, for giving us that tax information that a lot of people will also find very helpful because tax season is around the corner. So you got to prepare now. But also, the information for both Shanika and Bernie was included. So please, if you have any questions, be sure to contact us and so we can get those questions answered for you. And thank you all for just attending. And I hope that this was a very informational webinar and it helped all of you guys. So thank you so much.
Thank you.